If you've ever seen one of my videos before, you probably know that I usually stick to a more traditional review format. However, with Avengers, I thought I'd try something a little different. Since Avengers is a games as a service title that's going to continue to grow and evolve over time, it felt redundant to make a traditional review, as the critiques I make and the score I give it would likely become outdated and inaccurate as the game continues to expand over the coming months. So instead, I'm making a video discussing the game as it stands right now, and if I think it's worth picking up as it is, or if I think you'd be better off picking the game up at a later date when it's in a more polished state. Jumping into Avengers, I didn't have any real expectations about how I was going to feel about it. As a comic book nerd, I was excited to play as these characters in a AAA game, but my hype for the game was somewhat lessened by the game's rocky reveal, including its underwhelming presentation at last year's E3. But now, after sinking dozens of hours into Avengers, I've got to say that it exceeded my albeit fairly low expectations. While the game is deeply flawed and I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, I have had a lot of fun with Avengers and do find myself drawn back to it constantly. Let's start with what Avengers gets right. The thing I was most apprehensive about with Avengers was the gameplay. I had concerns about if Crystal Dynamics would be able to successfully make all 6 of the playable characters available at launch feel unique and fun to play as. Fortunately, they did manage to do this, and the moment-to-moment combat is by far the strongest element of Avengers. The 6 playable characters available at launch are Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Black Widow, and Hulk. Out of these characters, I found myself immediately drawn towards Captain America and Black Widow's gameplay styles, and they were the first characters I worked on leveling up. Though I also found Kamala Khan, Thor, and Iron Man enjoyable to play as. I never had a great time playing as the Hulk, but that's probably just because I'm not usually drawn to playing as big, tanky characters in games. Each hero has their own unique gear and skill tree, so you can easily sink a lot of time into each character as you get them up to their maximum level and gear score if you're the kind of gamer who enjoys grinding. So far, Captain America is my only hero with a completely maxed out gear score, though I also have Black Widow at level cap and am currently working on leveling up Thor. Something that caused a lot of concern a couple of months ago was the news that each character has their own unique battle pass that you progress in by doing daily and weekly missions. Progressing through the battle pass gives you access to things like resources to upgrade gear, credits, and cosmetic looks for your character. The announcement that each of the additional DLC characters added to the game would also have a battle pass that can be bought with real money caused a lot of frustration among gamers, though I don't think this is as big of a problem as some people thought it was going to be. You automatically get the battle passes for the 6 launch characters, and you can buy the battle passes for all future characters with in-game credits earned for completing the battle passes you already have. Each new character pass will cost 1,000 credits, and you can get 1,300 credits for completing a battle pass. I already have enough credits to get the next couple of characters' battle passes without spending any additional money, so if you're willing to put the time into the game, you can keep getting the new battle passes without spending any real money. It's also worth noting that the new characters and their story missions are available to all players for free. We know that the first DLC character, Kate Bishop, the second Hawkeye, is coming sometime in October, and the second DLC character, Clint Barton, aka the original Hawkeye, will be coming at some point in November. Crystal Dynamics have said that these characters are coming back to back as their stories are intertwined, but I'm definitely concerned about having 2 bow-wielding characters added consecutively, as there will inherently be similarities in their gameplay styles, and I'm not convinced it'll be possible to justify having 2 Hawkeyes playable, especially when added so close together and when there are so many other unique characters people are clamouring to play as in this game. Though I will definitely be checking out all the post-launch characters and will give my impressions on their DLC content in future videos. As of now, the only other DLC character we know is officially coming to Avengers after the 2 Hawkeyes is Spider-Man, who's coming exclusively to the PlayStation versions of the game at some point next year, though a data mine of the beta seemingly leaked the existence of many more DLC characters. An element of Avengers that was far better than I expected it to be was its campaign. The story is surprisingly well written and far more interesting than trailers had led me to believe. From the 8-day opening mission, you can tell that a lot of care went into the campaign. It has a whole lot of heart and some very cool set piece moments. The Avengers themselves all get moments to shine throughout the campaign, and making Kamala Khan the central character was a smart call, as she's an immediately endearing character who, like her comic counterpart, serves as something of a proxy for the audience, as she's also obsessed with everything to do with superheroes. While Kamala is the breakout character, largely thanks to Sandra Saad's excellent performance, she's not the only great character in Avengers. The casting for Avengers is exceptional, with Square Enix assembling an all-star voice cast for the game, featuring Nolan North as Iron Man, Troy Baker as Bruce Banner, Laura Bailey as Black Widow, Travis Willingham as Thor, and Jeff Shine as Captain America. Each of these actors feels perfectly suited to their respective roles. The main shortcoming of the campaign is also a significant problem with Avengers as a whole. It has a very noticeable lack of meaningful villains. There are only 3 major villains in the game: MODOK, Abomination, and Taskmaster, with the latter 2 not even playing much of a role in the story. Because of this, you spend large chunks of Avengers fighting generic robots and soldiers, which feels like such a waste when the Marvel Universe has decades of interesting villains to draw from. It really feels like Crystal Dynamics didn't want to come out of the gate with too many villains, as they wanted to save them to add later on, but that really hurts the game at launch. While it's certainly not as good as the campaign found in Marvel's Spider-Man or the Arkham games, due to its repetitive mission structure and limited selection of villains, Avengers campaign is still worth playing if you have any interest in the characters. Now let's talk about the areas where Avengers really falls short. Firstly, the game's launch has been filled with technical issues. When too much is going on screen, the frame rate takes a noticeable hit. I've also had to reload missions due to glitches that made it impossible to progress, and the load times between missions are extremely long. It's clear that this game was rushed out before it was ready, which is a real shame, because a couple more months of polish could have done wonders for this game. Avengers unfortunately also falls into the same traps that a lot of games as a service titles do. It has an incredibly repetitive endgame. So many of the missions in the endgame just feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. And it's a real slow grind to get the last upgrade materials needed to max out a character's gear score. It's disappointing to see this happen again and again with this type of game, and seeing companies not learn from the mistakes of games like Destiny and Anthem. So, is Avengers in its current state worth playing? It's hard to say, as the answer is going to vary from person to person. As it stands now, Avengers is certainly not a great game, but it is a fun game, and it has the potential to grow into something truly special. If you're a fan of Marvel Comics, or you're an MCU fan who's having withdrawals after a year with no new movies, then I'd say it's worth checking out. There's a good chance you'll enjoy the campaign, and have fun exploring each of the Avengers' unique playstyles. However, if you're not much of a Marvel fan, I think you can give this game a pass, at least until it's been further fleshed out with more post-game content. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more reviews.